Hello and welcome to Hanging by a Thread. My name is Ailsa, and this channel is where I talk about my knitting, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. And welcome if you are new here, and welcome back if you are a returning viewer. It's so good to see you. It has been a little while since I got myself together to post anything. We had kind of a tricky few weeks there. We went through a period of just getting one thing after another in terms of colds and sicknesses. And, I feel like we cycled through like my kid, my partner, me, all being sick. And then, yeah, everything. And then being sick again. And then you know how it is. It was just a little bit chaotic, and it took me a while to get back to a place where I could even contemplate sitting down and recording something. So it has been a little bit while, but that does mean I have a finished object to share with you. So that is what I am going to be doing today. We are going to be doing a finished object deep dive. Um, it is what I am wearing. We will get to this in a moment. Um, but yeah, I like doing these FO deep dives. So, I mean, I know you will have seen usually the objects I'm talking about on my Whip Wednesday kind of updates of what I've been working on. But I really like doing the deep dive so I can talk more in detail about the specific ins and outs of a project. My thoughts about the yarn, the knitting experience, the way the finished object came out. So I try and share all of those like kind of more detailed thoughts in these deep dives. So I hope you find them useful, and I hope you enjoy hearing about this one today. So without further ado, this is a Colourwork yoke sweater that I test knitted for Knits by Lillian. Um, it is a test knit that started in September and is running through to the end of this month. So I believe the pattern will be coming out in early December. Knits by Lillian is a knitwear designer who also has a YouTube channel. I will make sure I link to her channel below. I have been calling this the Stoneflower sweater. I don't think that's the confirmed name. I think I heard Lillian call it that on one of her podcasts at some point, and then it just became that in my head. But I don't know if that's what the pattern's actually going to be called. So if it does end up having a different name, I'll be sure in a future video at some point to let you know once it's out. But for now, I have been calling it the Stoneflower sweater. So it's a circular yoke, stranded colorwork sweater with this beautiful motif of leaves and flowers worked across the yoke. It also features a mini raglan beneath the yoke to give you just improved fit. And yeah, let's talk about some of the details. I'm going to pull some up on my trusty iPad so I know that I am really telling you the truth. So this pattern was recommended to be knit with Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia Merino, which I believe is a sport weight yarn, at a gauge of 22 stitches and 26 rounds with 4mm needles in Colourwork. I did have to go up to 5mm needles just to get my tension or get my gauge correct for the Colourwork. But on everything else, I used the recommended needle size and got gauge. So I knit the size 4 of this, which gave me about 3.75 inches of positive ease. So I think, let's take a look. Yeah, the chest circumference is 43 inches and 3/4 for the size 4. So that gives me roughly 3 3/4 inches of ease. So a more fitted look, which I'm actually quite pleased with. It's something different in my wardrobe. We'll talk about that more later. I knit this from Yarn in My Stash. So this is Wool of the Andes Sport Weight from Knit Picks. The color is Hollyberry. And then this, the contrast color is double Sunday, so actually a DK weight, in a pale pink color. I believe it's ballerina tutu or something like that. I'm going to link my project page down below, and that will have all of the precise details. But that is this contrast color is double Sunday. So this was actually a really affordable sweater for me. The yarn total that I spent was $48.58 Canadian. I think I got this the Hollyberry, the Wool of the Andes, in like maybe the Black Friday sale from Knit Picks. So I'm pretty sure I did get it on a discount. And I think I got that last year or maybe the year before. I don't quite remember. I did pay full price for the Sunday, but I just used a single skein of it here, so 50 grams. And that retails for around $15 after tax here. So really not a lot for yarn. And then also, obviously, the pattern was gifted because this was a test knit, or there was an exchange of me testing for the pattern. So, yeah, great price for a beautiful Colourwork sweater. I'm really pleased with that, and I'm really hopeful that the yarn is going to be hard wearing. To give some backstory to the yarn, actually, I originally bought this yarn to make the Autumn Alpine sweater by Caitlin Hunter. I have some videos about it, but maybe I'll put a card up here somewhere that if you're interested in seeing. I definitely had it in my frog off finish, and there's definitely an earlier one where I was making it and talking about the issues I was having with it. So I'll see if I can either link them up here or again down below if you're interested. So I bought it for that Colourwork sweater, and it just had not worked out, unfortunately. I had a really big issue with the neckline, and I just couldn't figure out a way to fix it without like ripping the whole thing out, and I was really unhappy with how it was looking. So I did end up frogging that. And the yarn was just kind of sitting around, and I really even did think about destashing it because I wasn't sure that I was going to find a project for it when I saw Lillian's test call, and I was like, perfect, a Colourwork sweater, a circular yoke Colourwork sweater in the right weight yarn. I can use this yarn that I have, and I love the design, and I'm really excited by it. So I was just thrilled to be able to make this and to use this yarn specifically. Um, I knit this like really quite quickly actually. So I started the test knit on September 16th, and I cast off. In fact, I had this fully blocked by November 6th. So it took me from cast on to block and fully finished 51 days, and that included a mid project block in the middle. So I really did actually fly through this by my standards. I also wasn't working on anything else in that time. Sorry, that's not true. I also was working on other things in that time period. So this wasn't like a monogamous knit. And for me, to get a sweater in under 2 months is really quite an achievement. And I feel really pleased with that. I'm really happy that I think because I find Colourwork so engaging, I just sped through the yoke, and then I was a little bit slower on the stockinette, but I knew that was going to be the case. So I've kind of already, I guess, transitioned into talking about my next section here on my plan, which is the knitting experience. So, yeah, I found this Colourwork chart to be so fun and engaging. It's just the right mix of repetitive so that you can get into a rhythm and that you can anticipate what's coming next, along with enough variation. So, like, the leaves aren't all exactly the same because they get progressively bigger or they look slightly different. And then when you get to the flower, that's really fun. So, I found it very, very engaging. I really enjoyed it. Colourwork is one of my favorite techniques to do in knitting. So I had a lot of fun with this. It's really well charted. It's really clear where the increases are and how you're going to be increasing. very well laid out. I was very happy with that aspect of it. I would say that the pattern is a little bit more of a bare bones style pattern, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I probably slightly lean towards preferring a more bare bones pattern. When a pattern is very like verbose and overly detailed, I can get a little bit overwhelmed and lost in it. I would say this is like more bare bones, but if you are an experienced knitter, you're not going to have issues following what you need to do here. It's clear, it's concise. The chart was fantastic. No issues there. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's beginner friendly, if that makes sense. But otherwise, very clear, very easy. Um, yeah, just walked you through what you needed to know and then kind of set you on your way, which I thought worked out. Yeah, not much else to say. In terms of the yarn I used, so again, this is wool of the Andes in sport weight, and this is double Sunday. I'm going to talk about the wool of the Andes because that is the main wool that I used and where most of my thoughts are. It's my first time using wool of the Andes, and I liked it. I like knitting with it a lot. It's really like has that satisfying, like it's a bouncy, springy yarn. Um, it's very satisfying to knit with. For those who don't know, it is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. If I'm wrong, I will put that somewhere here. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, Peruvian Highland wool, and it is a non-superwash. Um, it is a more rustic yarn, and I think if you have sensitivity to wool or you tend to find non-superwash prickly, this is not going to be the yarn for you. Um, I definitely can feel it when I'm wearing it. Um, I don't mind it. It's not scratchy, it's not itchy, it's just woolly to me. But I can imagine that if you were somebody who is sensitive to the feeling of wool, that this might feel very prickly to you. So your mileage may vary. It's also a slightly thicker sport weight, I would say. I'd say it leans more on like heavy sport, light DK, as opposed to light sport, heavy fingering. Sport is always that kind of funny in between yarn weight. So it's a little bit on the heavier side, which is why I felt okay about using it with the double Sunday. Originally, I had some lichen and lace rustic sport to hold with this, and that's what I had held with the autumn alpine. But that was knit at a slightly tighter gauge. And in that one, the two yarns worked out, even though the rustic sport is much more of a true sport and a much lighter yarn, and it looked okay together. At this gauge, it just didn't work. The rustic sport just got completely like way too loose. So I felt good about using the DK here. And the double Sunday is a non-superwash merino, and it's very plump and round. So it actually gives like great definition on the color work, I think. And it makes the color work pop just a little bit more because of it being that slight bit heavier, and then also just being like a very round yarn. So I'm actually really happy with how that turned out. I do find that, or I do find, I've worn this like twice. I did find when I wore this yesterday for the first time, by the end of the day, as we got into the evening, it was starting to feel a little bit prickly, and I was a bit like, oh, I just want to change into like a cotton hoodie, um, especially around the neck. But it did start to bother me, but only after a full day's wear. And I've been wearing this since this morning again today, and it is not bothering me at all. Like I'm happy on my arms. Yeah, it's quite a high neckline, and it's not bothering me at my neck particularly. But I can imagine that I'll get to the point this evening again where I'm like, okay, it's time to change into my comfy clothes. I don't know. Does anyone else do that when you're like, oh, it's time to take off my jeans and put on sweats and a comfy sweater rather than like my nice clothes that I wear out? Yeah. Anyway, that's something that happens to me, and I can imagine that happening again. So anyway, sidebar. Um, in terms of the finished object itself and how I feel about the finished object overall, I'm really pleased with it. I am. It is a more fitted jumper on me. Again, I have about 3 3/4 inches of positive ease, um, which I actually think it gives it a slightly more. And I'm going to put some pictures in so you can see it at a more of a body angle, I guess. um, it it being slightly more fitted makes it look a bit more formal or like smart, I guess, which is nice. It's nice to have something that's going to fit that brief in my wardrobe. Um, I do like that. It's different from some of the other handmade sweaters I've made, which is just, it's good, but like it does feel different. Um, the neckline is high for me. I'm typically someone who doesn't love a high neck. I don't like turtlenecks or roll necks or whatever you call them. I don't like things being close up to my throat. Like I tend to find that aggravating. So for me, this is a high neckline. But I know for some people it wouldn't be, but for me, this is like close to my neck and it feels high. Um, that's absolutely just personal taste. And I'm not, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could change it, but I wasn't going to change it on a test knit. So I think I need to get used to the neckline. It's certainly not like you can see, like there's definitely room in there. It's not strangling me. It's just about um like my usual my usual style. So it's taking some getting used to. Like I'm aware of it being near my neck. Not itchy, just like close. Um but I feel okay about it. I think I'm gonna get used to it. But it's just, and I was able to wear it all day yesterday. I've been wearing it all day today. Um, so that is, one thing about it. It also has more fitted sleeves, um, which at first I was like, oh no, they feel too like slim fit. But I think because there's less ease in the sweater as a whole, it's proportional. And like before blocking, it particularly felt like kind of tight on the arms almost, but now I think it's just like a very slim fit that is proportional to the sweater overall. I do wish I had made, so I've ended up with kind of bracelet length. Um, I do wish that I'd maybe made the sleeves like half an inch longer. I do have leftover yarn, so if in the future it really bothers me, I could go in and add, you know, 4 more rounds or something. But for the moment, I'm just going to live with it. I think it's not like so aggressively too short that it's worth doing it right now. I think also one thing that happened was when I was blocking, because I was worried about the sleeves, I did pin them quite aggressively wide. So I probably lost a little bit of length there. Um, so in theory, I could try and change that the next time I block it. But I don't know about that. That just seems like I'd just constantly be going down rabbit holes of like, you know, anyway, you know what I'm saying. But overall, super, super happy with it. This is the first circular yoke that I've made for myself. I have made a circular yoke for my daughter before. This is my first one for me. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm having to get used to like how it looks. Like I'm like, oh wow, my shoulders look like really slopey. And I think that's just the style, like that's just how circular yokes look. And like that feeling of like when you lift it up, like the whole thing comes with you, right? Like it is a different style. And like obviously I know that. Not that I dislike it. I'm not unhappy with it. I'm just getting used to it. I will say, I'm broadly again very, very happy with it. there is one thing that I wish I'd done a little bit better on the knitting, and you can probably see as I come close, my tension on the colorwork wasn't perfect, and this is a lesson in why you shouldn't bunch your colorwork up on teeny tiny needles. So I did that thing where um, when I was working on my yoke, I started with obviously a smaller cord length because I was starting with the collar, which is smaller. And I was just lazy and didn't increase my cord length as I went. So then, you know, that thing that happens where you've got too many stitches and everything gets bunched up. You know, usually that's just kind of like annoying. I've got too many stitches on my needles. But what happened to me because I had all of that bunching is I got some unevenness in my color work, especially around the increases, which I think you can kind of see here. Um, it's a little bit frustrating. I had been like, maybe it'll block out, you know, as we we all do. um, Spoiler, it did not block out. Um, I don't think it's so overly noticeable. I think if you were a fellow knitter and you were like getting really up close to my sweater to inspect it, you would notice it. But if you just saw me walking down the street, even as an experienced knitter, I don't know that you would cotton onto it because I think from a distance you don't really see it and it isn't affecting the fit. It's not really bubbling out or anything like that, but it is something that I'm like, oh, lesson learned. And I'm working on another Colourwork sweater right now, and I'm being very conscious of not allowing all my stitches to bunch up on the needle. Yeah, you don't want your floats kind of pulling the fabric in that way. So that is something. But yeah, that's my, I think, like between the sleeves being a tiny bit short and that slight puckering or whatever you want to call it on the color work, those are my two, like, I wish those were a bit better, but overall, super duper happy. My final kind of criteria thing to talk about is, would I knit this again? Would I knit it for my wardrobe again? Probably not. I don't need multiple of this. It is kind of like a one and done piece. I would consider knitting it for someone else. It was fun to make. Yeah, so I think the answer is like theoretically, yes. If I were making it for someone else, I'm probably not going to make another one for me. There are other colorwork yoke sweaters that I want to make in the meantime more than. So you know, I'm not anticipating making another one right now, but I do really really enjoy it and do recommend the pattern. So if you are in the market for a floral motif colorwork yoke, keep your eyes out for this sweater, possibly called the Stoneflower sweater, coming from Knits by Lillian in the near future. All right, that is it for this deep dive. I hope you enjoyed learning more about this sweater. If you have any questions about it, if there's anything you'd like to know, just ask below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like or hit subscribe if you're not subscribed already. It really does help this channel grow and helps other people find this content. So it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to do those things. And yeah, let me know in the comments below. What are you working on right now? What has you excited? What are you excited to get finished? Would love to hear anything about how your knitting is going these days. All right, take care, everyone. I will see you next time, hopefully in the not too distant future. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.